Michael had a way about him where he would make you think there was nothing wrong with the way that he was. So he was a manipulator.
After more than 25 years buried in the shadows of Neverland Ranch's walls, once praised as a childhood paradise, but now remembered as a place of haunting whispers and lingering dread, Adrienne McManus, the housekeeper who worked closely with Michael Jackson from 1990 to 1994, has finally said she can no longer stay silent. Her voice trembling, her eyes red with emotion, she recalled, "I saw things I can never forget. I cleaned those rooms. I heard children laughing in the middle of the night, and I kept asking myself, am I witnessing a nightmare?" Yet in the middle of those tearful memories, one painful question still hangs in the air. Is everything she says completely true, or is there something even darker, more horrifying, that even Adrienne McManus herself has never fully revealed? Was Neverland truly just a lavish amusement estate, or was it a disguised prison where secrets were locked away with money, power, and fear? Or is all of this simply an attempt to stain the legacy of the King of Pop? Let us investigate together. Let us turn page by page through the 2005 court records, revisit forgotten interviews, and examine whispers that spread across social media, searching for answers. Because the truth, no matter how painful, is worth facing. And perhaps, it is even more frightening than we ever imagined. Imagine driving along the winding hillside roads of Santa Barbara County, California on a spring afternoon in 1988. The air is crisp, carrying the scent of wildflowers and the sound of wind moving through ancient oak trees. Suddenly, a vast estate appears before you, enchanting as if lifted from the pages of a fairy tale. Sycamore Valley Ranch, a 2,700-acre property with shimmering lakes, lush gardens, and sharply curved stone pathways. This was no ordinary ranch. It was the dream of a real estate billionaire named William Bone, who developed it in the 1970s as a luxury retreat. But in March 1988, a special visitor came knocking. Michael Jackson, the King of Pop, at the height of his career with Thriller, the best-selling album of all time. Jackson, then 29, had been captivated by the property during a 1983 visit while filming the Say, Say, Say music video with Paul McCartney. He offered to purchase it for approximately $19.5 million, though some sources suggest the price may have reached $30 million, equivalent to more than $70 million today after inflation. By April 1988, after canceling an initial trust agreement with attorney John Branca and accountant Marshall Gelfand in order to maintain secrecy, Jackson officially became the owner. He renamed it Neverland Ranch, inspired by the mythical island in Peter Pan, where children never grow up. A manufactured paradise was born, and Jackson poured an additional $35 million into transforming it into a private amusement park. A towering Ferris wheel, roller coasters, a brightly lit carousel, a miniature railroad complete with a steam locomotive named after his mother, Catherine, and a zoo filled with exotic animals, including elephants, giraffes, gorillas, and even a bear named Baloo. But behind the vibrant paint and flashing lights, Neverland was more than a playground. It was a fortified compound equipped with advanced security. Hidden cameras placed among trees, guards trained in police academies, and towering gates that sealed it off from the outside world. Jackson once said it was a place where he could escape reality, but through the eyes of insiders, it slowly appeared more like a nightmare concealed by celebrity glamour. Adrienne McManus entered this paradise in 1990 at the age of 30, hoping for steady employment. She had previously worked as a housekeeper elsewhere, but Neverland promised an attractive salary. Initially $750 per week, later increased due to Jackson's satisfaction with her work. She was hired through a connection, and within just 3 months, McManus was promoted to become Jackson's personal housekeeper, a position that required absolute loyalty.
It was a little bit, it was a very different kind of job. It took me about a year and a half to even get used to it. It was very different.
McManus said in an exclusive 2013 interview with Inside Edition, her voice trembling and her eyes reddening as she remembered those early days. It felt like a fairy tale world, children laughing on the rides, animals roaming freely, and Michael. He seemed like a grown child, always smiling and inviting everyone to play. But that dream quickly shattered. McManus described Jackson as deeply, painfully lonely. He would wander alone through the zoo at night, sitting beside the elephant or monkey enclosures, whispering to them as if they were his only friends. A former zoo employee, Mark Biancaniello, shared in a 2010 interview that Jackson was terribly lonely. He spent hours with Baloo the bear, sharing ice cream and telling stories, as if the animals were his real family. Rumors circulated among staff members. Jackson avoided his own family and even ordered security to remove his father, Joe Jackson, from the gate in 1992, despite Joe insisting, "I'm his father." Late at night, after the amusement park lights were turned off, Neverland grew somber, the wind howling against the gates like whispers of buried secrets. McManus recalled, "I would see him wandering alone, eyes red, like a lost soul. He built Neverland to escape the loneliness of a childhood marked by abuse from his father, but it only isolated him more." Then the first secret, according to McManus, revealed itself during the night she cleaned Jackson's bedroom. Imagine this dramatized scene, based on her account, but intensified to illustrate the growing unease. One late evening in June 1990, just weeks after beginning her job, McManus slipped into the master bedroom, a luxurious space with a king-size bed, toys scattered across the floor, and the sweet scent of perfume in the air. Moonlight streamed through large windows, illuminating the cluttered room. She bent down to pick up clothing, her heart pounding when she realized that mixed among Jackson's glittering sequined jackets were children's underwear, tiny t-shirts decorated with cartoon characters, and a few forgotten toys. "They weren't his," McManus whispered in her Inside Edition interview, her voice breaking. "They belonged to the boys who came to visit often, Macaulay Culkin, Wade Robson, and others. They were mixed into the bed, like they had stayed overnight." Suspicion began to take root. Why would a 32-year-old man have children's clothing inside his private bedroom? McManus said she witnessed Jackson hugging and kissing the boys, touching them in ways she considered inappropriate. But she remained silent at the time out of fear of losing her job. Her husband was unemployed and household bills were piling up. Court records from the 2005 trial, People v. Jackson in Santa Maria, California, document her testimony that she saw Jackson kiss and fondle 3 boys, including one who later received a multi-million-dollar settlement in 1993. However, her testimony was fiercely challenged. Defense attorney Thomas Messerow accused her of selling her story to tabloids for $20,000 and losing a lawsuit against Jackson in the 1990s for theft, including a painting valued at $35,000. McManus admitted that in 1993 she had lied under oath, denying that she had seen any misconduct because she feared Jackson would report her to her superiors. She repeated, "I saw the boys lying in bed with him, their clothes dirty with suspicious stains." Details like these tighten the chest of anyone who hears them. Is this the truth or the bitterness of a disgruntled former employee? Through McManus's account, Neverland no longer appears as paradise. It becomes a maze of secrets where childhood innocence may have been drawn into a vortex of power and loneliness. And this is only the beginning. The layers that follow may prove even more chilling. And now we come to the most disturbing accusation. It was a summer night in 1991, around July, when Neverland had already been Adrian McManus's workplace for more than a year. That night changed everything forever. Adrian was cleaning the upstairs hallway around 2 in the morning. The corridor lights were dim, the only sounds the ticking of a clock and the wind slipping through the large window frames. Suddenly, from Michael's master bedroom, she heard a child's laughter, soft, innocent giggling mixed with his familiar low voice. It was not the laughter of a child playing in the daylight. It echoed in the darkness, in the stillness of midnight, as if the outside world had stopped breathing. Adrian froze, her heart pounding. The bedroom door was slightly ajar, just enough for a thin strip of yellow light to spill out. She had no intention of eavesdropping, but her feet felt nailed to the floor. Through the crack, she saw Michael sitting on the edge of the bed, a white silk robe draped loosely around him. Beside him was a boy. She refuses to name him, but she knew he visited often, about 10 or 11 years old. The boy lay on his side, his head resting on Michael's lap, eyes half closed as if drifting to sleep. Michael stroked his hair, whispering something softly, then leaned down and gently kissed his forehead. Not a fatherly kiss. It lingered longer, slower, and his hand moved down to the boy's shoulder, then paused at his chest. Adrian saw clearly. She saw everything. She turned away, her hands shaking so badly the silver tray nearly slipped. She ran back to her room, slammed the door, sank to the floor, and asked herself, "What did I just witness? Was that unconditional love, the kind Michael always spoke about? Or was it something darker, something she did not dare to name?" From that night on, Adrian began paying attention. Every time she cleaned the room, she noticed traces. Children's clothing scattered across the floor, sometimes mixed with Michael's sparkling sequined jackets. Once, she picked up a tiny T-shirt with something white and dried on the fabric. She refused to think further. She folded it neatly, placed it in the laundry basket, and tried to forget. But she could not forget. In November 1992, another boy arrived. He stayed nearly 2 weeks. Adrian saw Michael lead him into the private bedroom each night. Sometimes soft music drifted from the speakers, then abruptly stopped. One evening, she had to bring towels upstairs, and as she passed by, she heard Michael say to the boy, "You are my most special friend. Never leave me." His voice sounded sweet, yet it sent a chill down her spine. She stood outside the door, gripping the towels tightly, and for the first time she thought, "This is not friendship. This is something wrong." In 1993, the Jordan Chandler allegations exploded. The boy accused Michael of sexual abuse. The world was shaken. Adrian was called to testify under oath. She was terrified. She feared losing her job. She feared retaliation. So when questioned, she said, "I didn't see anything." She lied. She denied everything. But inside her, those images still burned. By 2005, when the largest trial unfolded in Santa Maria, she said she could no longer remain silent. On April 7, 2005, she took the witness stand and described what she claimed to have seen. Michael being physically close with boys, touching them, allowing them to sleep in his bed. She spoke about children's clothing in his room, about late-night laughter echoing through the halls. She told it all. But the defense attacked her fiercely. They said she had sold stories to tabloids. They said she had lost a lawsuit against Michael for theft. They said she was a liar. She cried on the stand. She admitted she was not perfect, but insisted what she saw was real. Then in 2019, when the documentary Leaving Neverland premiered, everything reignited. Wade Robson, who had visited Neverland dozens of times as a child, described in detail nights in the bedroom, evenings when Michael called him into bed, actions that Adrian claimed to have witnessed from a distance. She watched the film, and tears fell. She said she was no longer alone. Someone else had seen those ghosts, but the greatest secret, the one that still haunts Adrian today, is the rumor of videotapes. In 2019, during her interview with 60 Minutes Australia, she stated that Michael had hidden camera systems throughout Neverland. Not only at the gates or in the zoo, but inside the house, in the hallways, even in the bedroom. She claimed to have seen VHS tapes stored carefully in locked cabinets. She said she once heard him tell security, "Don't let anyone touch those." On social media, speculation continues. If those tapes exist, they would prove everything. They would show who is telling the truth and who is lying. Adrian does not know where they are now. Perhaps destroyed. Perhaps still hidden in a private safe somewhere. But she believes they existed. And if one day they are found, the world will have to confront the truth. Tonight, as those memories return, the sound of children's laughter still echoes from the past. That laughter no longer feels innocent. It has become the whisper of ghosts in the bedroom. Ghosts that never left Neverland. And the story is not over. Many layers remain hidden. But tonight, all one can do is sit with a fear buried for more than 3 decades and ask, will anyone dare to open that door again? Chapter 3. The network of cover-up and counter-arguments, the opposing view. Let us pause for a moment. Step out of the dark hallways of Neverland, where whispers and midnight laughter linger. Step into the bright sunlight of the zoo grounds, where children's cheers rang out for real. Not hushed giggles in the shadows, but pure laughter as they chased baby elephants, jumped onto the sparkling Ferris wheel, and ran into Michael Jackson's arms, as if into the embrace of a father they had long lost. Because if you only hear one side, Neverland appears as a disguised hell. But if you listen to the other side, those who lived there, who witnessed day after day, who loved and were loved, you see a completely different picture. A picture of generosity twisted, kindness exploited, a man hunted by those who once lived under his roof. Turn back to an afternoon in August 1990. The massive iron gates of Neverland swing open. A bus carrying 45 children from the Dream Street project pulls in. They come from the former Soviet Union, from the United Kingdom, from across America. They are children battling cancer, heart disease, terminal illnesses that left their bodies frail, their heads bald from chemotherapy, their skin pale from medication. But when they step through the gates, their eyes light up like stars. Michael Jackson appears. White shirt, radiant smile, arms open wide. He says, "Today you are the kings and queens of Neverland. No one is allowed to be sad here." He leads them everywhere, onto roller coasters, into the zoo, to pet giraffes, unlimited ice cream, private movie screenings. David Rothenberg, severely burned as a child, later recalled, "Michael hugged me tight and told me I was handsome. For the first time, I didn't feel like a monster." His music had even helped awaken David from a coma. That was not a publicity stunt. That was real. In 1992, Michael officially launched the Heal the World Foundation. He invited hundreds of children from shelters, churches, and underfunded schools to Neverland at least 2 to 4 times per month. They ate for free, played games, received gifts. Even when Michael was not present, the ranch remained open to them. Judy Brisa, who worked at Neverland throughout the 1990s, wrote in her book, Michael Jackson, The Man in Our Mirror. Michael did not build Neverland for himself. He built it for children, children who never had a chance to play. He was the kindest person I ever met. Karen Fay, Michael's makeup artist and hairstylist for 27 years, from the Thriller era to his final days, testified tearfully in 2013. Michael was a gentle soul, with endurance beyond compare. He was a healer. She described Christmas 2004. Michael invited 200 underprivileged children from Los Angeles and their families to Neverland. The entire ranch transformed into a wonderland of candy, games, gifts. Michael stood there, hugging each child, whispering, "Your dream is my dream." But within those warm images, another shadow appears, not from Michael, but from Adrian McManus. Look deeper into Adrian McManus's personal history, not to diminish a person, but to examine the full record. In the 1980s and 1990s, her family faced crushing debt. Her husband was unemployed. Bills piled high. Instead of finding a lawful solution, court records show she and her husband withdrew more than $30,500 from inheritance accounts belonging to 3 young relatives. A civil court ruled it was fraud and ordered repayment. Later, in the mid-1990s, Michael Jackson countersued her after discovering she had taken personal property, including a drawing of Elvis Presley created by Michael himself, valued around $35,000. The court ruled against her and ordered restitution. She was also part of the group known as the Neverland Five, former employees who sued Michael for wrongful termination and lost, with the court labeling the claims fraudulent and malicious. During the 2005 trial, defense attorney Thomas Mesereau cross-examined her about those incidents. He questioned her credibility, pointing to past legal findings and prior statements under oath in 1993 when she denied witnessing misconduct. Under questioning, she admitted she had previously lied out of fear. The courtroom fell silent. Her motives became a subject of intense debate. By 2019, when she appeared again on 60 Minutes Australia repeating her allegations, many viewers were moved. Others questioned her credibility based on documented past legal disputes. To supporters of Michael, her tears appeared suspect. To others, they reflected guilt and long-buried trauma. The divide remains sharp. On June 13, 2005, Michael Jackson was acquitted on all 14 criminal charges. The jury found the prosecution had not proven its case beyond a reasonable doubt. To his supporters, that verdict confirmed his innocence. To critics, it left unanswered questions. To counter the public image of eccentricity, some point to Whitney Houston. In 1991, she spent significant time at Neverland. Bodyguard Matt Fiddes later claimed they shared a deep connection. David Guest, a close friend, stated they cared for one another deeply. Such accounts portray Michael as a man capable of romantic love, not merely an isolated figure. From one perspective, Michael was not hiding crimes, but was himself a victim of greed and exploitation. Through the Heal the World Foundation, thousands of children visited Neverland. In 1990, 82 abused children from Child Help attended a barbecue and movie night. In 1989, 4-year-old leukemia patient Darian Pagan met Michael. These acts continued for years. Karen Fay once said, "Michael had extraordinary endurance. He could rehearse and dance for hours." Meanwhile, McManus continued repeating her allegations in 2019, facing both support and criticism. Was Neverland a prison, or was it a paradise tarnished by suspicion and controversy? Was Michael Jackson a monster, or a deeply flawed human being who devoted much of his life to bringing joy to sick and vulnerable children? The story is not finished, but this time, listen to the real laughter of children in the sunlight at Neverland. Not laughter in the dark, but laughter filled with hope. Conclusion. The Housekeeper Today and outro. More than 3 decades have passed since Adrienne McManus left Neverland Ranch in 1994. Yet her presence remains a scar across Michael Jackson's legacy. She lives quietly in suburban California, now in her 60s, rarely appearing publicly. Online, many fans continue to criticize her harshly. Others defend her courage. She has largely maintained her position. In 2025 and 2026, she has appeared occasionally in media interviews. In March 2025, she spoke to The Sun ahead of the broadcast of Leaving Neverland 2, again suggesting that if secret recordings exist, they could impact civil litigation scheduled for November 2026 involving Wade Robson and James Safechuck. She has indicated she is writing a book about her time at Neverland. Whether it will heal or divide remains to be seen. She says, "I am speaking out to heal, not to profit." Public opinion remains split. Michael Jackson's estate remains financially strong. In 2026, Reports indicate earnings of approximately $105 million the prior year, with billions generated since 2009. A biopic titled Michael is forthcoming. Streaming documentaries, anniversary tributes, commercial partnerships, and continued catalog releases demonstrate that his cultural impact endures. Yet legal disputes and controversies continue to surface, ensuring that debate never fully fades. Neverland itself stands largely unused, yet rumors persist. Stories circulate of shadows in the moonlight, of the Ferris wheel turning on its own, of laughter drifting from empty zoo grounds. Legends grow where certainty does not. But now we face the final question. Are Adrian McManus's allegations, late-night scenes, shared beds, scattered clothing, inappropriate touching, the truth? Or are they shaped by personal grievance, financial desperation, and years of legal conflict? She has a documented legal history involving fraud and theft findings. She admitted lying under oath in 1993 out of fear. She later changed her testimony in 2005. She wept publicly in 2019. Does that mean everything she said was false? Or does it mean the truth is tangled in fear, memory, and motive? The truth is not found in tears on a television screen. The truth lies in court records, sworn testimony, documented facts, and the enduring memories of those who experienced Neverland in different ways. Michael Jackson was not perfect. No one is. He brought joy to millions, and controversy followed him to the end. Adrian McManus left her own mark on that story, a mark of accusation, doubt, and division. The story is not over. Neverland still whispers. And you? Are you willing to listen, even if the answer is uncomfortable? Join us in future episodes as we continue exploring the secrets and tragedies surrounding legendary Black artists. Perhaps one day the gates of Neverland will open again, not to hide, but to reveal.